So it is all about PT, or the discussion is about how we should have the approach towards PT, right? Because although I have seen the yesterday's video also, sir has discussed meticulously about things which are there right now in PT, right? But one more thing which is important is that what we should be doing while we are preparing PT is one thing, what we should be doing. But what we should not be doing while we are preparing for PT is the most important thing, right? Because whenever we go for, say, any kind of analysis for PT examination, or while we are preparing for PT, you might have appeared for PT also earlier, or you might have seen the paper also. You are going through the preparation also. You are accompanied with the syllabus also. You are accompanied with the type of topics which are being asked, right? But the most problematic scenario with the PT is all those who have prepared also, all those who have gone for preparation also, all those who have been preparing for, say, 1 year, 2 year, appeared for PT once or twice or even thrice, they are not able to crack PT. That's the foremost problematic issue. And they are bright students. They are brilliant students. They're good with their facts. They're good with their information. They're good with their books, content, everything. But then too, you are not able to crack that PT. That is foremost problematic thing, right? And of course, PT becomes the introductory step in your preparation also. You want to start your preparation, or you want to achieve civil services only through PT only, right? You can go through mains when you are through PT only. So the foremost important thing over here to understand is what we need not to do while we are preparing for PT. Or before into that, we must also understand how the type of questions, ways, the type of asking is being created in UPSC. Sir has briefed it quite meticulously in the last class also. We'll take up in an exemplified way how these different types of questions are being asked and how we will tackle these. And if we want to create a kind of, we can say, a cracking scenario for PT, it must be a smart method, right? It is not only that the word smart. I'll explain how it should be the smart method and what you should follow and what you should not do. That we will discuss in this class. We'll keep it crisp and concise, right? Not take much of the time. See, when we understand UPSC PT itself, right? We all know there are 8 or 9 major heads in the PT that we have discussed, right? We have environment and biodiversity, which is for the last 3 years or so is one of the superstar subject. We are having 20, 25 questions every year coming from environment or environment linked scenario. Right? We also have science and tech, which includes the general science. I'll be dealing with these two topics, environment and science and technology, with you for the PT. And we also have then polity, of course. You had a detailed discussion about polity, how different types of the questions they have been asked in polity, governance, related scenario, public policy, social structure, right? All these things they are being asked with polity. We also have economy, which has been meticulously asked, though the questions in the last 4 or 5 years in economy, they are quite silent. But they are there, but they are not quite vibrant in nature, or the type of highlighted questions that we speak about in PT, they are not being seen in economy. They are simple questions, or they are out of the box questions, or they are those questions which should not be touched, right? So economy has not been so much flourishing, or we can say in the last 3 years, if we look up to the number of questions, they are not less compared to polity, compared to geography, compared to even environment. But they are quite silent. They are not vibrant. The vibrant nature of the questions and silent nature of the question, I'll speak about that also. Then we have geography. We also have history. And included with history, we also have art and culture. We have current affairs. So 8, 9 major heads that you have that we continuously look into when we prepare for PT. Right? Now, the first and foremost thing that we all take up when we approach for PT is one thing: we must learn about all these things meticulously. बोलते हैं ना कि आपको सब चीजों को बहुत अच्छे से पढ़ना चाहिए, कॉन्सेप्ट बहुत अच्छे से आना चाहिए, बोलता ना, right? This is the first and foremost thing that is being said when you will start preparing for PT. कॉन्सेप्ट बहुत अच्छा होना चाहिए, इन्फॉर्मेशन बहुत सारा होना चाहिए, इस बुक को भी पढ़ लो, उस बुक को भी पढ़ लो, ये वाला टेस्ट भी कर लो, वो वाला टेस्ट भी कर लो. And what you end up doing in that? What you end up doing in that? You end up messing up with many things altogether. This is the foremost question mark what we should do. You end up messing up with many things altogether, right? इस किताब को भी पढ़ लिया, अच्छा पॉलिटी में लक्ष्मीकांत को भी पढ़ लिया, फिर डीडी बसु ये भी पढ़ लिया, ये भी पढ़ लिया, ये भी पढ़ लिया, ऑल दैट. और बाद में क्या हुआ? जैसे सर ने कल बताया था ना, analysis to fact based question, and we end up losing those type of the questions also. So the problem number one with PT, or when we are preparing for PT, or when we are opting for PT, we overdo ourselves. We overdo ourselves. We take it more seriously than it should be taken, actually. Right? We take it more seriously. अरे ये पूछ लिया तो, अच्छा केशवानंद भारती वर्सेस ये पूछ लिया तो, अच्छा नेशनल पार्क में ये पूछ लिया तो. Right? अभी ये बताओ कि आपको पीटी में क्या करना है? 100 में से 100 मार्क्स लाने? किसी को नहीं लाने, right? What is the basic cutoff for PT? In the last 2-3 years, 2020 was one of the toughest paper that we have seen. 2023, as according to the students, was one of the toughest paper, where we have seen a marking going somewhere around 85 to 89. I'm taking for generals, right? 2020-23. In the mid, we had a marking of say 92 to 97. There were years where we had the marking of 120 also, 117 for generals. That was an easy paper, 2016, 2017. But the trend has changed, pattern has changed, right? UPSC, every time it will either make a tough paper or it will make an easy paper. Tough and easy, these are all perceptions and nothing else. These are all perceptions. There is nothing called as tough paper. There's nothing called as an easy paper. It is just that we like the paper or we don't like the paper. The problem is that, right? How do we say we like the paper? We like the paper because polity ज़्यादा पूछ लिया, economy ज़्यादा पूछ लिया, हमने पढ़ा था, easy paper था, right? Current affairs easy वाला पूछ लिया, थोड़ा सा general information वाला पूछ लिया, fact based पूछ लिया, easy था. थोड़ा सा current affairs को twist कर दिया, थोड़ा सा environment बढ़ा दिया, थोड़ा सा science बढ़ा दिया, paper tough हो गया. This is a generalistic scenario that students, when they come to us, we speak about all these things. This is the basic perception. There's nothing called as a tough paper. There's nothing called as an easy paper in UPSC. The basic set standard for UPSC paper or the PT paper is quite normal. Quite normal. There should not be any fear when we approach the PT paper. The only thing that is required is your presence of mind. That's what Sir has also spoken about in the last session, that how you get feared upon when you are approaching the paper itself. You get demotivated while you are approaching the paper itself, be it set A, set B, set 3, set D also. When you approach the paper itself, your psychology, your basic psyche changes, and that is something that changes the overall output of that paper, nothing else. Nothing in this paper is being asked out of your scope. The only thing, the first and foremost thing, is that you overdo yourself, right? Don't take it too much seriously, right? Simply, if we understand, if we look up to the basic analysis or a simple trend analysis of what we have seen in the last 3-4 years, the type of questions that are being asked, of course, 23, environment is there, science is there, which is the major chunk. I'm speaking about the major chunk. It is not so that I teach environment, so I'm more inclined towards it. It is just the basic trend. In 2022 also, the maximum number of questions again from environment. 2020, which was comparatively an easy paper, right? we had 26 questions coming from environment. They were more basic questions coming from more of those questions coming from ecology. So it was an easy question paper. And then again, we had 21 questions coming from environment itself. So these particular topics, be it be environment. Now, it is not so that other subjects are not there. Economy is equally there in every year. These are those questions which are not being highlighted. So we think that, oh, this particular paper is asked environment, science and technology, how I'd be able to appear in this particular paper if the particular trend goes on into like this, right? Now there is second misinterpretation with the paper also. The students has that psyche that if in 1 year the number of questions in any particular topic are higher, in the subsequent year the number of questions from that particular topic would be lower. सोचते हो ना कि पिछले साल आर्ट एंड कल्चर से ज्यादा पूछा था, इस बार नहीं पूछेगा, इस बार एनवायरनमेंट या इकोनॉमी ज्यादा पूछेगा, राइट? नाउ देयर इज द बेसिक ट्रेंड, यू टेक अप एनवायरनमेंट, you take up history also. क्या कम है? No. Almost 10 to 15 questions, they are there, and you have to appear for these questions. Now we have to break down these questions, how these questions are being asked, in which way these questions are being asked, and how we'll approach for these particular questions, right? We have seen in the last session itself, right? If you are appearing for a paper like 2020, where the marking went up to 85 or 87 for generals, you would have been aspiring for somewhere 110, 120, right? When you go for 2021, where the paper was comparatively easier, when the marking went for 97, you should have appeared for, or you should have opted for 130 marks. This is what we have spoken of in the last class also. That practically means, that simply means that in any kind of the paper, be it be an easier one, be it be a tough one, in any kind of the paper, your basic marking or your basic understanding or your basic number of questions that you should take up would not vary between 50 to 60. If you have 50, 52, 53 questions correct, keeping all the negative markings aside, then you are through with your PT. Simple, right? This is a very basic thing that we must understand also. Now, when we understand this thing, we must look up to the type of questions that are being asked, of course, in UPSC, right? Specifically in PT. We have spoken about the three basic trends that the UPSC follows in the questions, right? That is a macro trend. These type of the questions would appear first. The factor analysis questions can also appear. The information-based question can also appear. The factual questions can also appear. These all things we have spoken of in the last class itself, right? Now, the foremost thing that we have to look up to, what are these type of questions? Even if it is a fact and analysis based question, even if it is an information based question, even if it is a conceptual question, what are these type of questions? And you have, if you are going for these type of questions, how you would take out 50, 60 number of questions correct out of these questions. That is the basic thing that we have to look up to, right? So whenever we say UPSC PT, the basic trend whenever we understand, or the basic idea whenever we understand with UPSC PT itself, there are four basic trends with the type of questions which are being created, right? Now, I always say UPSC PT is not an examination of selection. It is not an examination of selection. It is not being conducted that you get yourself selected. It is an examination which is being conducted to get yourself eliminated. UPSC PT is not an examination of selection. It is an examination of elimination. It is trying to eliminate you out of the basic race of UPSC actually. Right? Basic filtering होती है ना आप सभी के साथ. Right? आपने अपीयर भी किया होगा, if you have appeared for PT also in the early years, you might have seen that the chances of getting selected is being thinned down by just 2, 3 or 4 questions only, which you could have done in that year itself. You have read about that itself. But there are certain silly mistakes, there are certain psychological problems, there are certain motivational problems, there are certain information problems, there are plenty of things, blah and blah and blah, and there are many things that we can say that, okay, fine, this is the basic problem. But the basic problem with UPSC PT questions is they are being created for elimination. Why do I say this thing? They are being created for elimination just by a simple fact that there are 4 different types of the question which are being created, right? When we say these 4 different type of the questions, the first one are the easy questions, right? Those questions which you might have seen before you have started preparing for UPSC. हम सब ने पुराना पेपर देखा होगा जब हम यूपीएससी प्रिपेयर करने आए थे. And what was the basic idea about the question paper? Why did you came for UPSC preparation? What motivated you towards UPSC preparation?
To be a part of service.
To be a part of service. Fine. ठीक है, मैक्रो है. जब यूपीएससी का पेपर देखा था, प्रीलिम्स का देखा ना, प्रिपरेशन करने से पहले पेपर तो देखा होगा कि ये एग्जाम ऐसा है. तो जब पेपर देखा था तब क्या लगा था? It is doable, right? You might have seen the paper and you, अरे ये तो मैं कर सकता हूँ. उसमें ऐसे 20-30 क्वेश्चंस ऐसे होंगे जिसको देख के लगा होगा अरे ये तो मुझसे बनते हैं. इसका मतलब बिना पढ़े मुझसे बनते हैं. अगर मैं पढ़ लूंगा तो मैं तो पूरा पेपर ही कर लूंगा. आया था ना दिमाग में, right? This was the basic psyche. UPSC plays with your psyche because these are those questions which are being created in the UPSC paper to let a particular aspirant opt for UPSC civil services. These are those questions. Easiest one. Any day you can solve these questions and you will find such type of the questions any day in UPSC. These are easy questions which are 25 to 30 questions. Right? You can solve these questions very easily, be it be in any section, be it be current affairs, be it be simple पूछ लिया G20 हुआ था उसमें कौन सा declaration, which was the declaration which was signed in G20 in the year 2023. Basic question, everybody knows, right? You take up an example of it. I'll take up the example for these type of the questions also, right? You just take up a simple example. I'll deal up with my domain itself, environment and science and technology, and we'll discuss the examples of these questions. You take up simple example, 2023, जिसने appear किया होगा उसको ये question पता होगा. Right? We'll discuss all the examples taking the basic idea of 2023 paper. Simplest of the question. Which of consider the following: aerosols, foam retardants, fire retardants, and lubricants. In making how many of the above hydrofluorocarbons are being used? Now, if you have read about environment, you might have read about environmental pollution, you might have read about climate change, and you might have read about chlorofluorocarbons, hydrofluorocarbons, perfluorocarbons, and their uses and their problems, and all these things. These are basic things that you know. These are basic things that you also know from NCR. Right? Simple question, all 4 of them. Right? Simplest of the question. In any year, if you will see such type of the question, these are those easy type of the questions which are being asked, and या बना लेते हो, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. राइट? इसमें अगर कोई मिस्टेक कर रहा है तो उसके साथ प्रॉब्लम है. Right? If you are not correct in such type of the question, so if your option is not correct in such type of the question, or you are confused with such type of the question, then there is a problem. You should review your preparation. Right? There is no chance of having a kind of we can say not having a kind of idea for such type of the questions. If you're preparing, you would be knowing such type of the questions. Right? Easy questions. These are those questions which are being created to let you enter into UPSC. And there are 20-30 such questions from any subject, if you will say. So if we look up to the four trends, the first one we have seen are the easy questions that we can see. 20 to 30, you will have easy questions, right? That means you can simply make up to 60 marks easily. Now, the second type of the question that you have in UPSC, easy but confusing, right? Those which you know, but there is a slightest of the confusion, right? Those which you know, but there is a slightest of the confusion. Okay, fine, I know bit and pieces of this. I know some parts of this particular question. I'm confused about one particular optional. I have read about this particular term. I have read about this particular scenario. Also, I have read about these particular ideas. Also, I have read about all the options which are being given in the question. But I am confused whether A or B or both or none. I'm slightly confused about. Right? Now, this is where the elimination starts, not the elimination of the options, the elimination of the candidate. Because the number of questions 35 to 40, the major chunk. Right? Now, these two itself make the paper easy, or these two itself make the paper look easy. Right? It is doable. Outside the exam center, that particular paper is the easiest paper that you might have seen. Right? Outside that psyche or that particular pressure or that psychology of doing the UPSC PT itself, outside that particular domain itself, if we speak about, this particular paper is doable. Yes, it is doable because topics are easy. Right? Now, this particular point is also the area or the basic criteria of elimination of the aspirants also, because the maximum number of negative markings are over here. If you are losing your PT by say 1 mark, 2 mark, 1 question, 2 question, 3 question, it is because of this only, right? So how many questions we can say? These are 70 odd questions, 140 marks. It is quite doable. The third basic trend of the questions which are being asked, right? Easy, but tough also. Tough in a sense, there is one particular option where there's one particular option in that particular question paper that you have no idea about. You don't know about also, right? I don't know about this particular option. I know about everything else, but I am not sure about this particular option. These are easy but tough. These are tough questions, and you will find around 10 to 17 such questions. You'll find 10 to 17 such questions. Where we are reaching 87. And then there are the fourth variety of the questions, which are the tough questions, right? 10 to 15 somewhere, 10 to 13 or 15, I would say, in that domain, right? Sometimes the number of these questions increase, so the paper becomes tough. If the domain of these questions slightly increase by say 5 questions, paper become tough. The domain of these questions slightly decrease by 5 questions. It is just a matter of plus and minus 5. But nevertheless, whatever may happen with this particular chunk of the questions which are being asked, the UPSC paper is always doable over here. Right? Now, these are those type of the question, the tough ones, which are the highlighted questions, the vibrant questions, which would be discussed upon, which would be read upon, which would be published upon post the UPSC PT also. In the newspaper, in the blogs, in the YouTube channels, you'll find these topics only. These are those highlighted topics, highlighted questions, right? Now, whenever we say, or whatever strategy we have, n number of strategies you do, n number of things you do, why do I say the first thing that I have said, that why don't you get selected in UPSC PT? is that you try to overdo yourself just because of this only. You try to chase these things first. You try to chase these things first, leaving aside those which are easily doable and can be achieved easily. This is the basic problem. Now take up an example, right? We'll take up the example of all these 4 trends also. Now see, this we have seen, the easy type of the question that we have. The second one, now again, easy but confusing. You'll find this particular thing you have read about n number of times, and over here itself you can solve this as an ease, with an ease also. Easy question. What is the question? The soil in the tropical rainforest is rich in nutrients, obviously, right? Rich in nutrients or poor in nutrients? Rich in nutrients. Fine. The high temperature and the moisture of the tropical rainforest cause dead organic matter in the soil to decompose quickly. Right? What is this? This is a basic question, conceptual question. What should have been the answer? Both these statements are correct, right? But the soil in the tropical rainforest is never rich in nutrients because it always faces continuous rainfall and the nutrients in the above layer get washed away because of that rainfall. First concept, when you read about the tropical rainforest, what is this? This is easy but confusing. What is this? This is +2 or minus 0.25 or minus 0.66. Sorry. What is this? It should have been achievable. It should have been doable. It should have been done. Right? This is the basic practical example of easy but confusing questions. Easy but confusing questions. We try to overdo ourselves. अब हमने क्या किया? अब यही आप एग्जाम की साइकी के पर्सपेक्टिव से देखो, तो when you are appearing for the exam itself, you are in your examination hall, you see this particular question paper. अरे ये तो मैंने पढ़ा है, मुझे पता है. ट्रॉपिकल रेन फॉरेस्ट है, सॉइल तो रिच होगी. सबसे ज्यादा रिच सॉइल किसकी होती है? न्यूट्रिएंट. Nutrient rich soil is in the temperate boreal forest. Second highest nutrient rich soil in the tropical wet deciduous forest. Wet deciduous that you see into the eastern part of the India. You have the tropical rainforest, semi-evergreen, and then the wet deciduous towards the eastern side. Towards the western side, you have the dry deciduous, all towards going down towards the Chota Nagpur plateau, and then you have the Deccan, and then you have the Tamil Nadu. Then you have the rainforest again towards the western Ghats, right? So the soil is not rich in nutrients, though since there is continuous rainfall, since it is evergreen, since it is a continuous forest which is being seen, continuous rim of the forest which is being seen, so it looks green. The soil is not nutrient rich because it gets washed away. But yes, the second process, the high temperature and moisture of the tropical rainforest causes the dead organic matter in the soil to decompose quickly. Yes, the humus is formed continuously, but the humus is washed away continuously also. This is the basic fact that you read in your NCERT only. Easy, but confusing. Right? Now you see, you can simply understand if you are appearing for PT continuously again and again, you are losing it by say 1 mark, 2 mark, 1 question, 2 question. Why is it so? It is because of such type of the questions. They are not being created to let you get selected. Rather, they are being created to eliminate you. You have to be cautious about it, right? हम क्या करते हैं? हम यूपीएससी पीटी में हमेशा उसको चेज करते हैं जो बहुत हाईलाइटेड है. टफ क्वेश्चन, अरे ये पूछा था, उसको पढ़ना है. एग्रीकल्चर में लास्ट ईयर ऐसा पूछा था, उसको तो पढ़ना है. 2020 के बाद एग्रीकल्चर पूछा ही नहीं. 2020 में भी एग्रीकल्चर पूछा था, तो क्या पूछा था? सस्टेनेबल एग्रीकल्चरल प्रैक्टिस, दोज व्हिच कैन बी रेड इजीली विद क्लाइमेट चेंज एंड सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट. उससे ज्यादा कुछ नहीं पूछा यूपीएससी. देयर इज नथिंग वेरी डीप. And it is just a marketing strategy. अब you have to understand that ये क्या है, ये जो questions होता है ना tough वाले, वो एक नई कोचिंग बनवाते हैं और कुछ नहीं है, एक नया टीचर बनाते हैं नए पर्सपेक्टिव वाला और कुछ नहीं, कुछ नए नोट्स आ जाते हैं, एक नई बुक आ जाती है, एक नया ब्लॉग आ जाता है, कुछ यूट्यूब वीडियोस आ जाते हैं, nothing else. And these are highlighted topics. They are not being created for your selection. Never ever. But such type of the questions, they are being created for your selection. It is just that greed, that understanding that you have to create. That yes, while you are appearing for such type of the questions, you should be cautious. You should be cautious about your effort. Right? Another question that you can see. Simplest of the question, which is asked in Science and Technology 2023. Right? India, may consider the following statement. In India, despite having uranium deposits, depends upon coal for most of its electricity production. Right? Fact hai, padha hai, sabne padha. Right? Uranium enriched to the extent of at least 60% is required for the production of electricity. That's why India is depending more on coal. The question itself wants to say this. Right? What should have been the answer? Statement 1 and 2 are correct, but not the proper explanation.
Statement 1 is correct.
Statement 1 is correct. What about statement 2?
Statement 2 is it explains that the reason for choosing coal is because of the uranium
enrichment.
Enrichment is 60%, so it requires this much to produce electricity.
The answer is statement number 1 is correct. Statement number 2 is not correct. I've read about the basic trend that Ashutosh sir has told you in the last class. This is analysis to fact. The simplest understanding of analysis to fact and simplest understanding of easy but confusing questions. Number 1, 3 things in your option itself. You should be firm about your concept. First and foremost thing, when you are dealing with the confusing topics itself, when you are dealing with confusing questions itself, you should be firm about your concept. What actually happens with these type of the questions? Why you are confused? Because you are not firm on what you have read. The first thing, enrichment kitne percent hota hai? Whenever there is a uranium enrichment, uranium 238, which is natural uranium, then uranium 235, which is enriched uranium. That's it. 2 things appear. From the natural uranium itself, the uranium 235 is being created, right? And whenever enrichment is being done, it is 99.3% of the uranium. There's nothing called as 10% enrichment, 20% enrichment, 30% enrichment, 40%. There's nothing called. Only 2 things exist. Either natural uranium or the enriched uranium. This is the basic concept. Now, since you are not firm on your concept, so this thing itself has confused you. You have read. Haven't you read about nuclear technology in Science and Technology? Right? You've read about. You know what is uranium. You know what is nuclear fuel. You know what is uranium, uranium 235, what is plutonium, what is thorium. You have read about this thing, but you are not firm on your concept. Problem number 2. You overdo. Number 2, you are not firm on what you have read. You must be firm, consolidated. You must be able to argue. अरे यार मैंने तो ये पढ़ा है, मुझे पता है कि enrichment 99.3% ही होता है यूरेनियम का, तो ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता है. Number 1. Number 2 thing, चलो उसको नहीं पढ़ा था, दूसरा कॉन्सेप्ट पढ़ा होगा. यूरेनियम enriched to the extent of at least 60% is required for the production of electricity. दूसरा कॉन्सेप्ट भी पढ़ा होगा. Pressurized और pressurized heavy water reactor पढ़ा है, टर्म पढ़ी है, इसके बारे में सुना है? कुडनकुलम जानते हो कहां है? नाम सुना है? Kudankulam nuclear reactor, which is being built right now in India, which is the nuclear reactor which has been created with the aid of Russia. VVER2 type of the reactors. There are 6 such reactors 4 of the 1000 megawatt, 2 of the 1200 megawatt, total 6400 megawatt of the electricity, 8400 megawatt of the electricity would be produced from out of these type of the nuclear reactor. पढ़ा है करंट अफेयर्स में, पढ़ोगे साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी में, कुडन जिससे नहीं पढ़ा वो पढ़ोगे, पढ़ा होगा मैक्सिमम लोगों ने, राइट? यू हैव रेड अबाउट व्हाट इज दिस? जब ये पढ़ा होगा तो एक टर्म पढ़ी होगी, प्रेशराइज्ड हेवी वाटर रिएक्टर. There are 3 basic types of the nuclear reactor that India is making. 3-stage nuclear cycle of India पढ़ी? 3-stage nuclear cycle of India. The first one in that is pressurized heavy water unit. Well, this is the basic concept that you read. Problem number 3, when you read, you discriminate. Right? When you study, you discriminate. You only like to study what you like. Don't like to study or don't like to remember what you don't like. This is the problem, not with you. Problem with 90% of the aspirants. They don't like science and technology. क्यों पढ़ना भाई? समझ में ही नहीं आती. Current affairs आता है science and technology में. Why you should read? Right? क्यों पढ़ना है? This is the third problem. You discriminate when you read. You discriminate between subjects. Right? Science and technology समझ में ही नहीं आएगा, पढ़ना ही नहीं. Environment आधा आता है, पढ़ लेंगे, आधा समझ में नहीं आता. Not your problem also. It is the problem with the content available. It is the problem with the idea which is being given. It is the problem also with those who try to inculcate science and technology or environment and biodiversity. That time is not being given. That effort is not being given. Neither that interest is being created. So, in such type of the question, there is always a confusion. In such type of the topics, there is always a confusion. Science में थोड़ा सा भी घुमा दो ना, बस student गया. और जब number of questions in science and technology become 19, 20, तो उसमें से chances क्या होते हैं? Out of these 20 questions, 5 would be absolutely correct, those which are general science questions, and rest 15 would be those which are easy but confusing questions. Simple. Right? In India, we have PHWR, which is pressurized heavy water reactor, which runs over natural uranium. This is the technology which India is developing right now. Natural uranium based power plants, which we are running right now, which is the first stage of the nuclear cycle. So when we can develop such technology, so why this particular logic is being created? Uranium must be enriched up to 60%. There is no need. Right? Second thing. Third thing itself, this question itself can explain that yes, the statement number 2 is not correct, because even if you have understood the basic idea of nuclear technology, the second statement would have been ruled out immediately. Easy but confusing questions. These would be those questions which would not let you clear the exam, right? So you want such type of the questions? Yes, UPSC will give such type of the questions. Now, what should be the idea? How to tackle these questions? We'll speak about that also. There's one more question. Simple, right? Geography से है, थोड़ा सा science and technology भी linked है. With reference to coal-based thermal power plants in India, consider following statements. Number 1, none of them uses seawater. Simple question है, कोई science नहीं पूछा, right? None of them is set up in water stressed districts. None of them is privately owned. Simplest of the question, right? What should have been the answer? D, none of the above, right? Yes, it is. Easy question, but can become confusing where? At every option it can become confusing. None of them uses seawater. Confuse हो सकते हो भाई, seawater. अब देखो, logic कहीं भी जा सकता है. The thermal power plants are being created in all those areas which are where we'll have the coal mines. Where do you find coal in India? सबसे पहले coal कहाँ मिलेगा? झारखंड में, ठीक है. फिर कहाँ मिलेगा? छत्तीसगढ़ में. फिर कहाँ मिलेगा? थोड़ा सा उत्तर प्रदेश में. फिर एमपी में. फिर आंध्रा में मिलेगा. उन सारी जगहों पे मिलता है. In all those areas which are non-coastal areas. They're not the coastal areas. These are all the non-coastal areas. Logic देखो. अभी जब आपके सामने ये क्वेश्चन आएगा ना, तो आप अपना लॉजिक लगाओ. कंफ्यूज ये जरूर करेगा। तो क्या सोचोगे, यार कोल तो नॉन कोस्टल एरियाज में मिलता है, कोस्टल में तो कोल मिलता ही नहीं है। जब कोस्टल में कोल नहीं मिलेगा तो कोल थर्मल पावर प्लांट भी कोस्टल में कैसे होगा? ये ऑप्शन गलत हो सकता है। इजी, अगेन कंफ्यूजिंग। None of them are set up in water stressed areas. Yes, of course, if we'll set up in water stressed area, coal power plant requires much amount of the water for the thermal boiler to function. Obviously, this can be something which can be doubtful. Right? None of them are being privately owned. इसमें थोड़ा बहुत पढ़ा होगा इकोनॉमी में कि जिंदल ने किया है या JSW स्टील ने अभी बहुत सारे पावर प्लांट्स। तो अभी क्या है, आउट ऑफ 3 1 तो ये तो करेक्ट है। अब कहां कंफ्यूजन स्टार्ट होगा? यहां पे। In normal understanding, for a normal student, confusion in दो में होगा। अभी now, in the earlier pattern of the examination, where they used to ask which one of them are correct, only 1, only 2, only 1, 2, only 2, 3, there was a chance of selective elimination also. There was a chance of selective elimination also. But what you will do in this? You should be dead sure about the options. Only then you can choose. Otherwise, there is no chance of selective elimination. UPSC is smarter than you. When they have seen that they have started selectively eliminating the options itself, they started asking this in this way also. And there could be other method of asking it also, to eliminate the selective elimination also, right? So when we understand these things itself, obviously this explains everything. There are many coal-based power plants all across the coastal part of the country. So none of them is correct, right? Is the answer. But again, this is again an example of easy but confusing questions, right? Next you take up is again a question from biodiversity. Simplest of the question that could have been asked, right? Consider following trees: jackfruit, maua, teak. Which of them are deciduous? सबने पढ़ा? क्या नहीं है इसमें बताओ?
Jackfruit may be from tropical forest. Because the length of the tree will be very high.
Yes.
Basically. The next thing is coming to the mahuwa tree, belongs to tropical deciduous forest. Because there will be like shed leaves.
Mahua is tropical wet deciduous. Right? Teak is
also
tropical dry and wet deciduous boundary, the ecotone of both. Right? You will find teak and Shoria robusta, both of them. Right? जिसको आप शीशम बोलते हो. You will find it in tropical dry deciduous. But jackfruit, अब जैकफ्रूट तो डेली खाते हैं या सीजन में खाते हैं, राइट? और ज्यादातर जैकफ्रूट कहाँ से आता है? अब लॉजिक देखो, किसी भी स्टूडेंट का लॉजिक कहाँ तक जा सकता है, राइट? अच्छा, ये आता कहाँ से? यूपी से सबसे ज्यादा आता है जैकफ्रूट, या बंगाल से सबसे ज्यादा आता है। बंगाल में क्या होता है? डेसिडियस फॉरेस्ट होता है। लॉजिक देखो, अगर नहीं पढ़ा है तो। If you don't know about this particular option, that yes, jackfruit is tropical semi-evergreen. It is not having evergreen also. It is at the boundary of wet deciduous and the evergreen, so it is tropical semi-evergreen. Right? Rainfall 180 centimeters. Right? So jackfruit itself, it is a variety of fir. Fir and aves. Simple variety. Right? अभी क्या होता है? Whenever we read about biodiversity, अब biodiversity तो tough नहीं है, easy है, easy है, समझ में आती है ना biodiversity of India. The problem with biodiversity is lack of information also, क्योंकि हम उसको restrict कर देते हैं। अब पहले क्या होता था, बायोडाइवर्सिटी में नेशनल पार्क्स पूछ लेता था, वाइल्ड लाइफ सेंचुरी ये वाली कहाँ पे, वो एक क्वेश्चन होता है हर साल, राइट? तो हम पढ़ते क्या है बायोडाइवर्सिटी में? कन्वेंशन पढ़ते हैं, नेशनल पार्क्स पढ़ते हैं, लेकिन बेसिक वेजिटेशन ऑफ इंडिया तो पढ़ते ही नहीं है। How many you have actually segregated India into at least say 4 parts and then read each and every eco zone of that particular area? अकेले नॉर्थ और नॉर्थ ईस्ट और ईस्ट इंडिया में 17 इको जोन्स है, और हर का अपना एक वेजिटेशन है, और हर वेजिटेशन का एक एग्जाम्पल है। सेंट्रल में 7 है, वेस्टर्न में 6 है, सदर्न में 8 है। वी हैवंट रेड। हम क्या करते हैं, जो जरूरी है वो पढ़ लेते हैं। द फोर्थ प्रॉब्लम, वी ओवरडू, वी ओवरथिंक, वी डिस्क्रिमिनेट, we also do not pick up the topic how it is being expected by UPSC. Fourth problem. राइट। अभी आपसे कोई बोले कि सिर्फ आप कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के कुछ आर्टिकल्स पढ़ लो, ठीक है, कि सिर्फ आर्टिकल 19 पढ़ लो, 51 पढ़ लो, ठीक है, 243 पढ़ लेना, 370 पढ़ लेना, सिर्फ इतना पढ़ लो, काम हो जाएगा, काम हो जाएगा, क्वेश्चन बन जाएगा। इज इट द करेक्ट स्ट्रैटेजी? क्या लगता है, काम हो जाएगा? नहीं होगा। तो फिर ये बायोडाइवर्सिटी में सेल्फ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन क्यों? और एनवायरमेंट में या साइंस टेक में, इवन इन इकोनॉमी, इवन इन हिस्ट्री, इवन इन हिस्ट्री, हिस्ट्री में क्या बोलते हैं, पीटी के लिए क्या पढ़ना चाहिए? जो करंट चल रहा है सिनेरियो वो पढ़ लो। हिस्ट्री का भी करंट होता है, हिस्ट्री का भी करंट होता है। आर्ट एंड कल्चर पढ़ लो, राइट, आर्ट एंड कल्चर का होता है, वो न्यूज़पेपर में आता है तो कभी पूछ लेता है। बट द इंडियन फ्रीडम स्ट्रगल, उसका क्या करंट होगा? 1857 से स्टार्ट हो गया, 1947 में खत्म हो गई, तो उसका क्या करंट अफेयर्स होगा? पर्सनालिटीज, सुभाष चंद्र बोस, बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर, इसको पढ़ लो, फाइन, वो एक क्वेश्चन होगा। 2020, the maximum number of questions which are being asked in history are from ancient and medieval, 11, right? देखो, हिस्ट्री 18 क्वेश्चन है, 18 में से 11 एंशिएंट और मिडीवल के हैं, आर्ट एंड कल्चर के 4 हैं, मॉडर्न इंडिया के सिर्फ 3 क्वेश्चन है। एंड दिस इज बीन टॉटेड एज द toughest paper which has been asked in the last 7 years, right? Why so? Why so? You create a term just because UPSC has not created a tough paper. UPSC has created a paper which it expects the students to read. But since you discriminate, अरे एंशिएंट और मिडीवल से तो कभी पूछता ही नहीं है, क्यों टाइम देना है, क्यों पढ़ना है? Right? 2023 itself, set C, the initial 7 questions were from ancient history. Be it be question asked from Jainism, be it be question asked from that Varaikattu, which has been asked, right? 7 questions from ancient itself, directly. Out of 13, 7 ancient, art and culture or ancient mixed, right? And influenced of it. Southern history. Southern ancient also. राइट। अब नॉर्दर्न हम एंशिएंट में भी डिस्क्रिमिनेट कर जाते हैं, कई बार हम वैदिक पढ़ लेते हैं, पोस्ट वैदिक नहीं पढ़ते हैं, सदर्न हिस्ट्री नहीं पढ़ते हैं, अरे पूछता ही नहीं है, राइट? यस, ऑल दीज क्वेश्चंस व्हिच आर बीइंग आस्क्ड, इट इज बीइंग आस्क्ड, यू नेवर डिस्क्रिमिनेट। अभी चलो क्या एनवायरमेंट समझ में नहीं आता, साइंस समझ में, हिस्ट्री तो आती है, लेकिन वी डू नॉट लाइक। द प्रॉब्लम नंबर 4 इज दैट यस वी नो दैट दिस इज इन आवर सिलेबस, but we don't give that due importance. We don't give that due importance. और उसमें क्या होता है, चलो टफ क्वेश्चन पूछा, कोई बात नहीं, there's no problem. If they have asked the tough question, हमने मान लिया, चलो that is in that domain of 30 questions, उसको वहां डाल दो. But what if such questions are being asked, which we were discussing about, this one, simplest of the question, yeah. But again, it becomes confusing. Only one, only two, all of them, none of them, right? In the first go itself, अभी जब हम लोग लास्ट ईयर, देखो बहुत इजी बात बताता हूँ इसमें, जब लास्ट ईयर हम लोग एनालिसिस करें ना, बहुत जल्दी पेपर आता है, तुरंत एनालिसिस हम लोगों को बनाना पड़ता है, तो पहले गो में मैंने भी ये क्वेश्चन गलत किया था। Yes. Yes.
So it will make us to think, like it will make us to think broad way, but somewhere we do some mistakes.
Yes.
Is the reason we go like for minute.
That is what. Yes, it is my point of explaining this particular thing, that these are easy but confusing questions, and how to come out of it, we'll discuss about this also. I'm just. Yeah, you're right. There is a minute point that we miss, and that's what UPSC want you to miss that particular point, right? You must be affirmed about your concepts that you have read. This is the only problem, that you are not affirmed about your concept. You are not sticking on to your concept. Okay, fine. This is the concept. This is the thing, right? Now, whenever you read a particular information, how do you read a particular information? What are methods of reading a particular information?
Firstly, the theme of the topic, then what it was talking, like which kind of development it want to do in the society, and we should see like any thing which is interrelating into any other like topic, like any other development related thing.
Okay, so mostly you try to approach a particular topic in a way that it is being asked in the examination, and the method of asking a particular topic in an examination keeps on varying. So what happens?
But it's a basic thing. Everyone, not everyone, I do.
Fine, I'm trying to jot down those mistakes only that we make. Right? Why you're not able to appear? Why you're not able to crack PT? What is the problem? Those 4 questions. What is the problem? The problem is when you try to approach a particular topic, you get selective in approaching the topic itself. First, you need to understand the length, width, and dimension of that particular topic. None in your topic is not important. Nothing in your topic is not important. Any day UPSC can ask. And what if that particular question has been asked in the next year itself when you are appearing? Well, this is the first and foremost thing that you must appear. The problem that when you gather information from multiple sources. Multiple sources. ये भी पढ़ लो, ये भी पढ़ लो, ये भी पढ़ लो. And then there's humongous information which has been created. There's a pile up of the information. अब उसमें से क्या करोगे? अब इतना सारा information कैसे करेंगे? ये पढ़ लेते हैं. Trend analysis कर लेते हैं. पेपर को पढ़ लेते हैं. Right? पेपर देख लेते हैं कैसा क्वेश्चन आ रहा है. Right? अच्छा, आर्ट एंड कल्चर आता है, आर्ट एंड कल्चर पढ़ लेते हैं, एंशिएंट छोड़ देते हैं. साउथ इंडिया हिस्ट्री छोड़ देते हैं. नेक्स्ट ईयर. तो प्रॉब्लम कहाँ है? You're not able to do it, or you're making a selective choice? No, the problem is at the top of the funnel itself. You are collecting information from multiple sources. That is one and the foremost problem that you create. You must be simple. You must be simple in choosing your content-based sources. राइट? अभी क्या होता है? अभी इसका नोट्स भी मिल गया, उसका नोट्स भी मिल गया, वाले जेरोक्स की शॉप पे वो वाली बुक मिली, वाले जेरोक्स की शॉप पे वो वाली बुक मिली, राइट? फिर क्लास जो रूममेट है उसका भी नोट्स है, फिर मेरे अपने कोचिंग का अपना नोट्स है, कोई अलग नहीं पढ़ा रहा. You need to fix your sources first. अभी क्या होता है? We read multiple sources one time. See, there is a complete psyche of it itself. We read multiple sources one time, and at the time of examination, we are not able to revise those sources. Right? We are not able to revise these sources. And what we end up doing, we end up messing up with the facts. Messing up with the facts also. With the information itself. आधी ये पता है, आधी वो याद है, आधी क्योंकि एक बार पढ़ा था. There was no revision. And when there are multiple sources, there's no chance of revision also. There could be 2 ways into that. Either you fix your limited sources that, okay, fine, whatever may be the thing, I will read these things only, those which are the standard books or those which are the standard sources. I'll read these things only n number of time. Right? This is a short time method. There's a longer time method also. I'll read n number of sources. Take out what is important, write it down into one source, and then revise that one source n number of times. Second method. This is a long time method. It will take much amount of the time. So what is easy? What is easy? Be simple. Be simple in your preparation. Don't overdo. What is the problem? The first thing that I have said, that you overdo. Why do you overdo? You read too many things. What is the need? Even if it is available, even the information is available, fine. You must lose that greed of not reading that excess information which is being available. You have to leave that greed. किसी कोचिंग के नोट्स में, किसी भी ऐसे कंटेंट में कुछ एक्स्ट्रा नहीं मिल जाने वाला. What current affairs you will expect more than Hindu or Indian Express if you are reading continuously? Right? अभी क्या है? अभी इंडिया ईयरबुक भी पढ़ना है, फिर ज्योग्राफी एंड यू भी पढ़ना है, योजना कुरुक्षेत्र से भी आ जाता है. Nothing. Fix your sources. Stick to that. For whatever duration you are preparing, fix to a particular source. ये source है, इसको करना, इसको जितने बार कर सकते हैं वो ज्यादा better होगा. That will end up in one thing, that confusion in such type of the easy questions that you create. You would be firm about your concept. Okay, fine. I have read this 7 times that yes, this is not deciduous. This is semi-evergreen. I have read it 10 times. I know it. I can make it correct. The problem, right? And the solution. Another one. Now, these are those questions which are easy but tough, right? ये आप लोगों को अच्छा भी लगेगा. This is a question about community reserve. More of the governance of the community reserve is being asked. Consider the following statements. Once the central government notifies an area about as a community reserve, अब ये किसके अंदर आता है? Wildlife Conservation and Protection Act. Although that has been changed now, amended 2023 में बहुत सारी चीजें हैं, but before say till 2022, this was Wildlife Conservation and Protection Act 1972, right? Under which the community reserves, national parks, or the wildlife sanctuaries are being notified. The biosphere reserve is being notified outside Wildlife Conservation and Protection Act, which is being created by an act of the Parliament itself. ये आपको पता है सारे facts, right? Now, looking onto this, the chief wildlife warden of the state becomes the governing authority of such forest. Hunting is not allowed. People of such area are not allowed to collect non-timber forest product, right? People of such area are allowed for traditional agricultural practices. How many of these statements are correct? अब देखो उसमें क्या है? Why it is easy but tough? ये तो easy है, ठीक है? हंटिंग तो किसी भी एरिया, अब वो कम्युनिटी रिजर्व बना दिया तो हंटिंग तो कैसे परमिट करेगा? मतलब ये तो सही है, ठीक है? People of such area are not allowed to collect non-timber forest produce. नॉन टिम्बर फॉरेस्ट प्रोड्यूस के लिए तो ग्राम सभा और ग्राम समिति, ग्राम पंचायत के साथ स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का एक ब्लॉक ही बनता है ना. The division is being created, that is being notified under Wildlife Conservation Protection Act. Right? तो क्या होगा? They are whether it is correct or not. ये क्या होगा? Doubt. People of such areas are allowed for traditional agriculture practice. Yes, in a small scale, they are being allowed only in those areas which are the intermittent zone, not exactly in the buffer zone of such areas, right? Or even in the core zone of such areas, right? So now, what is the confusion? What is the toughness? The first one. The chief wildlife warden of the state becomes the governing authority, whether it is correct or not. Now, what happens with this? Wildlife Conservation and Protection Act, किसने पढ़ा है पूरा डिटेल में? देखो, अगर पढ़ा है, then for the governing and management of the community reserves, there is a community reserve management committee which is being created, right? Keeping the DFOs, district forest officers, gram sabhas, and representatives from gram sabhas all together, right? And this community reserve management committee itself chooses a chairman, which becomes the warden automatically, the wildlife warden of that community reserve. If a particular state has 2 different community reserves, then each community reserve can have a different warden also. Easy but tough, right? अब जब हमने इसको इंफॉर्मेशन को गैदर किया, बट हमने क्या किया? हमने इंफॉर्मेशन को उस डेप्थ तक नहीं पढ़ा. We know what is Wildlife Conservation and Protection Act. We know what is community reserve, how they are being created, but हमने मिस कर दिया इंफॉर्मेशन को. ये टफ क्वेश्चन है. अब इस पे क्या कॉल लेना चाहिए आपको? What should be your call? Whether you will attempt this question or not. You should analyze and attempt. Fine. If you are not able to crack this thing, or if you are not able to crack this thing, okay, fine. I'm not very much sure about this thing. You leave this question. These questions are not being made. These questions are not being made to be attempted. They are just being made to lure yourself towards negative marking. You should be firm about this. Okay, fine, I'll not do this question. Fine. Pressure नहीं लेना. ठीक है? Next round में अगर time बचता है तो सोचेंगे. Don't waste your time in such type of the questions. Easy but tough questions, right? These are those which can be seen. Then those which are tough questions. Correct answer? Only two. Non-timber product and this is not correct. Rest two of them are correct, right? Then detection of the car crash. अब ये क्या है? Science का question है, general science का है, वो भी biology के बाहर का है, पढ़ाई नहीं होगा. Science in general, science in everyday life. What is the use of accelerometer? Accelerometer is being used in your smartphones. Fine, ये पता है. ठीक है. Detection of accidental free fall of the laptop, ये भी पता है. लेकिन ये इस पे डाउट होता. ये क्या है? ये टफ क्वेश्चन है. For 70% of these students, it is a tough question. Yes, it is. Even if you are a science background student, it is a tough question because of the sheer fact that it is a question of lack of information. Content में मिलता ही नहीं है, कहीं पढ़ा ही नहीं. अब मिलता होगा, किसी notes में मिलता होगा because after this question has been asked, तो accelerometer को mention करते हैं notes में. But else than that, we haven't taken a care about it, right? Neither it was in current affairs कि कभी पढ़ा हो accelerometer के बारे में या कहीं पे. Although it was there in current affairs, जब आप स्पेस साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी पढ़ते हो, सैटेलाइट्स पढ़ते हो, तो सैटेलाइट्स में कुछ एक्सेलरोमीटर्स लगाए जाते हैं जहां पर उसको बताया जाता है. बट गोइंग इनटू दैट डिटेल एंड एक्सपेक्टिंग अ स्टूडेंट टू गो इनटू दैट डिटेल इज द चांसेस और द प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ हैविंग इट इज क्वाइट थिन. सो व्हेनेवर यू से such type of the questions, do not touch. Fine, if you are not able to reach up to your marked barrier, okay fine, my barrier is 55, 60, 62 questions, I am not able to reach up to that, then you risk your option into this. Otherwise, we don't need to do these things. Again, it is an easy question although, but lack of information makes it a difficult with reference to role of biofilters in recirculating aquaculture systems. अभी देखो एनवायरमेंट की बुक्स में या कंटेंट में या जो अवेलेबल कंटेंट्स थे एज ऑफ 2022 उसमें कहीं पे भी ये टर्म नहीं मिलेगा. हिंदू पे सर्च करोगे, there is one report only in 2017 that the Central Fisheries Research Institute has developed a recirculating aquaculture system to use wastewater. Right? So these are those which are again highlighted topics, vibrant topics, tough topics. When you don't know about it, don't touch these questions also. If you know about it, certainly, if you know about it, you can cover up with these. If you don't know about this, don't touch these questions. You are able to crack PT with those 60 questions, 70 odd questions. Whatever may be the scenario, what you have to do actually right now, right? So in a simple case scenario, keeping all these examples together, what we can understand is that there are 4 or 5 peculiar problems. What we have discussed about is we overdo. We try to take more effort. Rather, it can be simply understood. Simply can be a scenario can be created for PT. Number 2, we miss the facts, miss the information. Right? Either we do not read it, or there was no content available, or we have not taken any serious effort towards that, or there is a self-discrimination. We discriminate about what we are trying to do or what we have to read, what we have not to read. We discriminate. Okay, fine, ye nahi padunga, ye padunga, ye nahi padunga. And if the type of questions are being asked in that way, that can be a problematic thing, right? We try to attempt the problematic thing. We try to attempt those which should not be attempted, right? Attempt those should not be attempted, right? So keep it simple. Keep it simple. You should not do these things. Number one thing, when you are aiming for PT, these 3 or 4 mistakes. I'll not say that ये मत करो, वो मत करो, ये मत पढ़ो, वो मत पढ़ो, ये मत करो, ये करना चाहिए, इतना बार ये करना चाहिए. All these things, they are available easily on YouTube videos, right? वो YouTube videos वालों को इस लेवल तक आने के लिए भी सोचना पड़ेगा थोड़ा सा, right? अभी नहीं बन रहा उनके वीडियो. तो the problematic thing with the UPSC PT is not about that the students do not know about the questions which are being asked. The only and simplest problem with the UPSC PT is that they know, but the questions are being marked wrong, either because of lack of information, lack of understanding, lack of attention given to that particular topic or that particular question, or because of the basic psyche which has been created in the examination itself. Whatever may be the scenario, whatever may be the case with that, the problems appear. What we should do? Why I started with this term? We should be smart enough, right? When you are preparing, go down to your basics. First and foremost thing, right? All these things, tips, tricks, methods which are being told about PT में कि यार ऐसे ट्रिक लगा के सिलेक्टिव एलिमिनेशन कर लो, इससे ऑप्शन बन जाता है, वो आपको मैक्सिमम 3 या 4 क्वेश्चन सही करके दे सकता है, राइट? सिलेक्टिव एलिमिनेशन, ट्रिक लगा लो, शॉर्टकट लगा लो, ऐसे करो, ऐसे करो, ऐसे करो, ये सोचना. अच्छा आप देखो यूपीएससी ना क्या करता है, यूपीएससी ऐसा घुमाता है, लेकिन यूपीएससी एक जगह पे आके लीनियंट भी हो जाता है. अगर आपको 2 ऑप्शन में कंफ्यूजन है तो ये मान के चलो कि इसमें से 2 ऑप्शन नहीं है, ठीक है? या कुछ ऐसे क्वेश्चंस भी होते हैं जो ऑल ऑफ द अबव वाले हैं, वो देख के समझ में ही आ जाते हैं कि इसका आंसर ऑल ऑफ द अबव होगा. इवन दो कंफ्यूजन है तो भी ऑल ऑफ द अबव लगा के आ जाना. एग्जाम्पल सामने है, ऑल ऑफ द अबव वाला भी था, जैक फ्रूट, एग्जाम्पल सामने है, राइट? तो जब ऐसे क्वेश्चन पूछता है, ये मेथड्स हैं, ट्रिक्स हैं जो आपको बताते हैं पीटी के पहले, राइट? एंड यू शुड डू दिस, सिलेक्टिव एलिमिनेशन कर लेना, ये कर लेना. These all, they can yield not more than 3 or 4 questions. Rather, the number of questions that you will attempt out of those tips and tricks and the amount of negative marking that you will gain out of it would be more than what you have gained out of these questions, right? So be simple, be basic in your preparation. There should be a smart preparation. What is a smart? You should be simple. Simple with your 3 things, right? Simple with your reading, simple with your grasping, and simple with your thinking, right? Simple with your reading would mean there should be a schematic content which you are following continuously. The content sources. You cannot have humongous content. You cannot handle humongous content also. I have spoken about it also. There are 2 ways of doing it. Either you use many content or many books all together once and appear into the exam, or you streamline your topics, books, content, information sources, and you read only those sources. Or you take up many books all together, make a gist out of it, and then you start preparing. There could be 2 ways of it, right? So we should be simple. Keep your books simple. Keep your topics simple. Don't let that greed come into you that okay fine, अगर उस book से मैंने पढ़ लिया, ऐसा तो नहीं है कि उस book में कुछ extra है. That greed is one important thing, because वो क्या करेगी, वो आपके 2 टाइम खराब करेगी. जब आप अपने कंटेंट के अलावा एक एक्स्ट्रा बुक पढ़ते हो जस्ट फॉर द सेक कि मुझे पढ़ना है वो बुक, राइट? वो 2 तरीके से टाइम किल करती है. एक जो टाइम आपने किल किया while you are reading that has also killed the time that you could have given in revising your original content, in revising your original source also. This is 2-way bird, right? Don't kill that time, right? Give that time in revision. Revise one particular thing n number of times rather than reading n number of things one time, right? Revise one thing n number of times would be easier, would be better. 1 is equal to n is good rather than n is equal to 1. So be simple with your sources, simple with your reading also. Second, be simple with your grasping. Whatever you grasp, don't discriminate into what you are grasping, what you are reading, whatever may be the topic. Now, if you break down the number of micro topics that you have in PT, they would not cross more than 13. They would not cross more than 13. ठीक है? और फिर क्या होता है? अभी जैसे कल आपने पढ़ा था, there's a difference in PT, there is a difference in mains. कल सर ने बताया था how mains and PT are being different. There is a story and there is a conclusion, and then in PT you break down that thing into small blocks. So be simple in your PT itself in a way that you break down your things into small blocks itself. Don't take it as economy. Break it down. Micro, macro, right? Sectors, the current affairs, economic survey. When you are able to jot it down properly, you break down properly, then you would be able to come out with the topics also. So there would not be a chance of self-discrimination that I have read this particular topic, but I have left this particular topic. And when I have left this particular topic, the question has been asked from that only. Lack of information कहां से आता है? Lack of information यहां से पहले आता है कि हम कुछ टॉपिक पढ़ लेते हैं, कुछ छोड़ देते हैं, बिकॉज क्लैरिटी नहीं है, ब्रेकडाउन की क्लैरिटी नहीं, टॉपिक्स के ब्रेकडाउन की क्लैरिटी, टॉपिक्स के ब्रेकडाउन की क्लैरिटी के साथ साथ क्या नहीं है, we do not understand, okay fine, this particular topic can also be important. I have taken example for that, I have spoken about that thing, right? So be simple with your grasping also, right? Break down your topic properly, take out ample amount of time for each particular topic which is to be given, right? Don't discriminate कि मुझे साइंस पसंद नहीं आता तो मैं साइंस नहीं पढ़ूंगा, या मुझे इकोनॉमी पसंद आता है तो आई विल रीड मोर ऑफ द इकोनॉमी, लेस ऑफ द अदर थिंग्स, या मुझे पॉलिटी पसंद आता है आई विल रीड more of the polity, rest of the other things may suffer. That may not happen. UPSC paper, it is not following any kind of the trend that this year if environment is high, next year economy or polity would be high. This trend is now being broken since 2020. There's no trend as such, right? That's why people keep on thinking in a way that the paper is tough, paper is easy. Tough and easy, there's nothing. It is just an interpretation that you take. It is just a conception that you have created. It was a tough paper, right? Topics are there, logics are there, concepts are there. Be firm on your concepts. So simple sources, maximum grasping out of those sources, and then be simple in your understanding. Whatever you have understood as a fact, whatever you have understood as a concept, affirm yourself on that concept. Nothing in the world can change that concept. If that concept is correct, nothing, in whichever way it is being asked, it would not change. Otherwise, that again would happen, that 60% of the uranium is to be used to create electricity. If the concept is being created, it is fixed, fine, right? Simple. Meticulous. Meticulous, why I would say again this thing, this again links to R, which is revise. Right? This also links to simple. Read a source, a single source, but read it meticulously, continuously. Give complete effort into this. Right? Don't leave a particular part. Okay, fine, ye chhod diya, ye pad liya. Again and again I am saying this thing because usi se hi confusion create hota hai. The major problem for the confusion is this only. You should be accurate for PT. And accuracy can only come up in PT from practice. That would mean the test that you can create. Right? Test or practice that can be created. Right? Whatever you read. Now problem number 6 with the students. Right? They read it, they revise it, but they don't practice. What is the meaning of practice over here? How do you practice? Mock test. N number of mock tests, N number of tests in different kinds of areas or different coachings or different test series, Xerox you will get, right? But whatever may be the scenario with these, these different types of the tests, they are being created with their perspective. With their perspective, right? What is the perspective? अब जैसे simplest form में मैं आपको explain करता हूँ. Polity. अभी कोई कोचिंग में पॉलिटी में क्वेश्चन उन्होंने बनाया, आर्टिकल 1 से लेके आर्टिकल 20 तक के क्वेश्चंस मुझे बनाने. ऐसा होता है क्या? पॉलिटी एंड कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, पॉलिटी 1, पॉलिटी 2, अब देर आर मेनी डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ द क्वेश्चन. आर्टिकल 50 पे पता चला 5 क्वेश्चन है, लेकिन 51 पे have we checked our facts that we have gathered, our information that we have gathered, our content that we have gathered in different perspectives continuously? No. आप आर्टिकल 1 पढ़ते हो, चलो आर्टिकल 1 का कोई सेंस नहीं. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 19 कितने पर्सपेक्टिव से उस क्वेश्चन को देखा है? कल सर ने बताया था ना कि हमको पढ़ने में तो आता है, लेकिन हमारा पर्सपेक्टिव वहां तक नहीं जाता है. The student may not have that perspective, right? So that only originates because of lack of test. You don't test your concept continuously. एक बार पढ़ लिया, ठीक है, अभी देखो मेथड ऑफ डूइंग विद दी स्टूडेंट्स, अभी एक बार पढ़ लिया, अब इसको जाके किसी टेस्ट सीरीज में टेस्ट करेंगे, लेकिन जो पढ़ा उसमें से क्वेश्चन पूछा ही नहीं तो टेस्ट तो हुआ नहीं. सो व्हाट वी शुड डू, यू शुड हैव ऑल दोज रिफ्रेशर बुक्स. मार्केट में जाओ, कितने लोग ये सिर्फ और सिर्फ एमसीक्यू के बुक्स खरीद के लाते हैं? कितनों के पास है? एक के पास है एमसीक्यू बुक्स, एन नंबर ऑफ एमसीक्यूज नहीं है. You will buy test series. This happens with 90% of the student. Mostly because that is the trend.
Not mostly. For me, if I read something, I need to test myself.
For you, if you read something, you need to test yourself, but that testing is being done with what? Up to what extent of what you have read? My point of asking is this only. If you read something, if there is only one question about what you have read, whether it has been tested completely?
No one can do that, because every institute have their individual perspectives.
Yes, that's why I'm saying कि हमने ये परसेप्शन बना के रखा है that MCQ books are bad. अभी आप पढ़ो एक सोर्स से, लेकिन जितने MCQ बुक्स मिल सकते हैं उसको जरूर लेके आओ. Be it एनीथिंग. कोई पर्टिकुलर पब्लिशर नहीं है, कोई पर्टिकुलर बुक नहीं है, कोई पर्टिकुलर थिंग है. गो इनटू मार्केट, सर्च फॉर कि 5000 6000 क्वेश्चंस इन जीएस. बेसिक क्वेश्चन हो, बकवास वाले भी हो, ये एसएससी वाले उठा लो, कोई बात नहीं, बकवास वाले भी हो, इतने बेसिक हो कि कोई पढ़ के लगे कि यार ये क्यों कर रहा हूं, फिर भी करो. ठीक है, फिर भी करो. आर्टिकल 1 पे, आर्टिकल 10 पे, आर्टिकल 12 पे, आर्टिकल 13 पे कितने पर्सपेक्टिव से वो पूछा है, उससे क्या होगा? वन कॉन्सेप्ट इज बीन ब्रश्ड ऑफ अगेन एंड अगेन एंड अगेन एंड दैट इज बीन ब्रॉट इनटू प्रैक्टिस. उन क्वेश्चंस में एक क्वेश्चन ऐसा जरूर मिलेगा जो आपके कॉन्सेप्ट को टेस्ट करेगा. दैट वी डू नॉट डू. इसलिए कंफ्यूजन होते हैं, इसलिए कंफ्यूजन होते हैं. अब ये बेसिक क्वेश्चन कहीं पे भी मिल जाएगा जो इसने पूछा है ना अभी, चीफ वाइल्ड लाइफ गार्डन वार्डन वाला, कम्युनिटी रिजर्व्स में, कहीं भी मिल जाएगा. किसी भी सिंपल गाइड बुक में जाओ, हु इज द वाइल्ड लाइफ, हु इज द वार्डन फॉर द कम्युनिटी रिजर्व्स, 4 ऑप्शन दिए हुए, सिंपल. लेकिन क्योंकि हमने टेस्ट नहीं किया तो लैक ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन है. समटाइम्स इंफॉर्मेशन इज बीन आल्सो गैदर्ड फ्रॉम दीज टेस्ट आल्सो. राइट, लैक ऑफ प्रैक्टिस. When you have more of the practice, right? छोड़ दो कि उसका क्वालिटी क्या है, छोड़ दो कि उसका स्टैंडर्ड कितना है. अब यूपीएससी स्टूडेंट के साथ सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम क्या है? ईगो है ना भाई. यूपीएससी का स्टूडेंट है, आईएएस का स्टूडेंट है, ईगो है. अच्छा क्वेश्चन करेगा, बुरा तो करेगा ही नहीं. गो एंड सर्च फॉर दीज टाइम इन पॉलिटी, इन इकोनॉमी, इन ज्योग्राफी, इन हिस्ट्री. जो सबसे घटिया वाले क्वेश्चंस होंगे ना जिस एमसीक्यू बुक में, वो भी लेके आना, उसको भी लगाना. इन्वेस्ट योरसेल्फ इनटू दैट rather than investing yourself completely into these vague test series that you have. Now, I'm not criticizing any test series, I'm not praising any test series. They are good. They are only good just to create a psyche, not the satisfaction. They are good just to create the psyche. Test series are good just to create the psyche. Okay, fine, I have prepared myself for the examination, not the satisfaction. The satisfaction would only be gained when you have that confidence. Okay, fine, I have read this particular thing and I have tested it with multiple perspectives, with multiple questions. At least एक आर्टिकल पे 10 क्वेश्चन तो लगाओ यार. एटलीस्ट कम्युनिटी रिजर्व पे 5 क्वेश्चन तो लगाओ. एटलीस्ट नेशनल पार्क पे 6 क्वेश्चंस लगाए तो हो. नॉट अबाउट द इंफॉर्मेशन कि ये नेशनल पार्क कहाँ है, अबाउट द एटलीस्ट वाइल्ड लाइफ कंजर्वेशन प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट पे 10 क्वेश्चंस आपने लगाए तो हो, लगाया है क्या? सबने पढ़ा, right? Testing is more important. When you will test yourself more, you would be more accurate. When you would be more accurate, you would be more meticulous. When you would be more meticulous, you would be more simpler. When you would be more simpler, you would be more successful. Right? So the only problem is about those 30 to 45 questions which confuse you. Right? Those 30 to 45 questions that confuse you. Now we have to come out of these only. Right? मत सोचो कि मैं हर क्वेश्चन को यूपीएससी में कर सकता हूं, नहीं कर सकते हो. Now with this at least you must create an idea. अभी क्या होता है, यूपीएससी का पेपर जब हम साइकी, बेसिक साइकी स्टूडेंट इन दी एग्जामिनेशन हॉल ऑल्सो, हम जब जाते हैं बस पहला क्वेश्चन है, टाइम कम है, यहीं से स्टार्ट कर दो. सिर्फ 20% स्टूडेंट ऐसा होता है जो पहले पूरा पेपर देखता है. सिर्फ 20%. 80% क्या हो, फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन अच्छा ये नहीं बना, ओ साइकी खराब. सेकंड क्वेश्चन अभी क्या, 10th क्वेश्चन बन ही नहीं रहा है, मोटिवेशन. 25th क्वेश्चन इजी है, तब तक मोटिवेशन. सर ने बताया था ना कहां पे पीक और कहां पे पीक नहीं है, कल बताया था ना. सेम. व्हाई? बिकॉज यू हैव नॉट गॉन थ्रू विद द पेपर. पहले तो पेपर को एनालाइज करो. टेक 10 मिनट्स. जब भी आप मॉक टेस्ट देते हो ना, अभी से प्रैक्टिस डालो, उस पेपर को पहले देखो. पहले देखो फर्स्ट 50 में कितने हैं जो मुझे पहली बार में दिख रहे हैं कि हाँ ये बन जाएंगे. नेक्स्ट 50 में कितने. अभी उससे क्या होगा, वो साइकी ब्रेक होगी. वो साइकी ब्रेक होगी. देखो यूपीएससी ने तो वो साइकी बना दिया. दैट साइकी इज देयर. यूपीएससी हैज क्रिएटेड दैट साइकी. ओके फाइन, आगे से स्टार्ट करोगे तो टफ क्वेश्चन है, मोटिवेशन डाउन करेंगे. पीछे से स्टार्ट करोगे तो टफ क्वेश्चन है, मोटिवेशन डाउन करेंगे. लेकिन हमारे the questions which are useful for us, they are in the middle. जब तक आप वहां पहुंचोगे तब तक मोटिवेशन, साइकी खराब, अटेम्प्ट खराब. नहीं, हमें तो 60 क्वेश्चन निकालने हैं अपने मतलब के. हम हर क्वेश्चन नहीं कर सकते, लेकिन हम ये 60 कर सकते हैं. ठीक है. तो अगर वो नहीं बन रहा है तो ये मान के चलो कि वो ये वाला है, और वो बन रहा है और कंफ्यूजन हो रहा है तो ये वाला है. उस पर से थोड़ा एक बार और सोचो. हम क्या करते हैं, वी वेस्ट आवर टाइम ओवर हियर. यार ये नहीं बन रहा है, थोड़ा सा सोच लेता हूं, मैंने हो सकता है पढ़ा हो, थोड़ा सा कुछ कहीं से लगा लेता हूं तिकड़म. छोड़ दो ना, इसमें भी सिलेक्शन हो जाएगा. और ये है यूपीएससी में ऐसे क्वेश्चन, ऐसे अपना पेपर आज जाके देखना फिर से 2023. ठीक है, वो क्वेश्चंस हैं जो आपको सिलेक्ट हो सकते हो जिससे. बट वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट वी नीड नॉट टू क्रिएट दैट साइकी while we are preparing for any test, right? So these are certain things that we must take care of while we are preparing for PT also, right? When you are into PT now, अब next अब जब भी PT बैच हमारा चलेगा तो ये टाइम नहीं मिलेगा आपको. ये मैं कहीं नहीं बताऊंगा और कभी भी नहीं बताऊंगा. Right? These are those things which must be inculcated. You must take care of these things while you are preparing for PT. You have read everything. You have the information. You know the things. Right? Only things which are required is a certain amount of perspective in what you know. Right? In dealing with those discriminations which you have created. Okay, fine, मुझे ये subject नहीं आता है तो अभी teacher है, उससे पढ़ लो. Right? Second thing. Third thing, the common mistakes that you continuously make while we are appearing for PT. Right? PT is not tough. It is not tough, but still it is an exam of elimination, not selection. Now, if you go with the wave, go with the tide, you would only be eliminated, not selected. You have to come out of that tide. टाइड के ऑपोजिट नहीं जाना है. ठीक है, फिजिक्स पढ़ी है किसी ने? फिजिक्स पढ़ी है? जब हमको रिवर क्रॉस करनी होती तो क्या होता है? अगर ये रिवर है और ये इस डायरेक्शन में जा रही है, आप इस बैंक पे हो, आपको इस बैंक पे जाना है, क्या करोगे? ये रिवर है, ये इस डायरेक्शन में, यू शुड गो डायगोनल, ठीक है? इसके ऑपोजिट नहीं तैर के जाओगे, इसके डायरेक्शन में नहीं जाओगे, गिर जाओगे, घूम जाओगे, राइट? This is the only example that you should take care of, right? PT is not tough at all. It is achievable, it is doable, it can be done any day. You have to take cautions about what we have discussed about. What you should not do is more important than what you should do, right? Thank you very much for this.